The United States wants stable and strong ties between Bangladesh and India. This comes as Dhaka heads into a crucial general elections. In an exclusive conversation with Reuters, the US ambassador to Bangladesh said that Washington would like to see a good relationship between Dhaka and New Delhi to support regional stability. This comes as India-Bangladesh ties have sharply cooled following the ouster of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who has since taken refuge in India. But this is bigger than diplomacy. Washington is now planning to offer US and allied defense systems to Bangladesh's next government, positioning them as an alternative to Chinese hardware. The aim: counter China's growing military footprint in South Asia. The US says it is concerned about deeper Chinese engagement and wants to clearly flag the risks going forward. At the same time, Washington says it will engage with whichever government is elected by the Bangladeshi people. China, meanwhile, has already moved aggressively. A drone factory deal has been signed near the Indian border, and Dhaka is in talks to acquire China-backed JF-17 fighter jets through Pakistan. For Washington, this signals a strategic shift in Bangladesh's defense posture. Beyond defense, the US is also pushing commercial diplomacy. American firms are keen to invest, but only if Bangladesh signals it is open for business. High taxes and difficulties in repatriating profits remain major hurdles. Despite its population of 175 million people, Bangladesh has very few major US brands on the ground. Where the US maintains clear leverage is humanitarian support. Washington remains the largest donor for Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh, but it is urging global partners to share that burden as well, as UN funding shortages have already led to ration cuts and school closures, especially affecting the people of Bangladesh, as well as the burden it has by the way of Rohingya refugees. Joining me on the show is Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee, author and former diplomat. Also with us is Professor Swaran Singh from School of International Studies, JNU, and Major General Sudhakarji is a defense and geopolitical expert. Thank you very much, all of you, for taking time out. Ambassador, I want to come to you first. How significant is the US push for better India-Bangladesh ties, and what does it tell you about Washington's South Asia strategy?
Well, it couldn't have come at a better time, since initially it appeared that the US deep state had actually engineered the developments that had led in the first instance to the downfall of Sheikh Hasina's regime, and then the intense anti-Hindu feelings, and which also extended to Buddhists, to Sufis, to Shias, etc. There was no word of condemnation from Washington with regard to the lynching of Hindus and minorities, etc. And there was some disturbing news about engagement of the American ambassador in Bangladesh engaging with the Jamaat, which is um, known for being completely pro-Pakistani, which had actually worked with the Pakistanis in the 71 war, which took place after the genocide of the Pakistani army, etc. So clearly, there has been a reset in American foreign policy in this crucial part of South Asia, which is of immense importance to us, given the growing Chinese footprint directly and through Pakistan in Bangladesh. Uh,
Right.
Naturally, we would await, like the rest of the world, uh, the results of the referendum and the election. Attempts to change the Bangladesh constitution are also matters which affect us in the sense that it might disturb the entire secular pattern on the basis of which the nation now called Bangladesh was created in the first instance,
Right.
to demonstrate that language, culture, and civilization is more important to Bangladesh than religion.
All
So we
right.
have to wait how things work out.
All right.
Uh,
I think those elections are very crucial, and I'm going to pick your brains on that as well. But Professor Swaran Singh, if I were to understand US's latest stance, it feels like US first engineered a coup in Bangladesh, supported the students to ensure that Sheikh Hasina and her government, the Awami League, falls, and is now concerned with what's transpiring by the way of Chinese influence. Are they going back and they finally realize that India as a partner to Bangladesh is better than Pakistan and China as a partner to Bangladesh?
Very clearly, Shweta, whatever the United States does in South Asia, and I do want to underline that two former prime ministers of South Asia, Sheikh Hasina of Bangladesh and Imran Khan of Pakistan, have openly, publicly said that fall of their government was partly because of United States effort to bring them down. Now, whatever US, as I said, does in South Asia has clear focus on, browbeating China's growing influence in the region. So that apparently is the main concern that would drive the United States into engagement of this kind. Apparently, to me, I will vary here compared to Ambassador's analysis. To me, this reflects a bit of discomfort because if newly appointed ambassador Brent Christensen was in communication and interaction with Jamaat, why it is that 3 days before the elections such an agreement has to be finalized, and of course China openly ambassadors speaking about United States providing military aid not just itself but also with its allies to find alternatives for Bangladesh to China. Is Bangladesh looking for alternatives? China is the biggest supplier of defense equipment to Bangladesh, and almost monopoly in high-tech construction and main road corridors, etc., etc. From 2004 or so, largest imports to Bangladesh come from China. So is Bangladesh actually looking to go away from China in that sense? And to me, surprise of 3 days before, as if the assessment in Washington was that 3 days later the deal may not happen or the deal could become more difficult. To me, it comes a bit like a surprise why in the final days of Dr. Yunus's still being in power or in position, such a deal has to be signed. And of course, nitty-gritties of deal
Let's not
itself are
forget,
interesting.
yes, let's not forget that initially there was an NDA. So the nitty-gritties only came out a few days after the deal was signed.
Indeed. So, talking about suddenly now 15 to 25 Boeings to be purchased by Bangladesh, $15 billion worth of energy in next 15 years or so, one is not sure how will Bangladesh do it. Look at their economy, which has decelerated enormously in last 1 year or so. Enormous unemployment. The main export of Bangladesh, virtually 80% of export is ready-made garments, which primarily about $10 billion out of the total trade of $55 billion go to United States. Most of those factories are now down, enormous unemployment. How is Bangladesh going to meet these requirements that United States is placing upon them? And the whole talk of zero tariff for certain ready-made garments is also very interesting. This will depend on man-made US origin cotton yard, which will be so expensive.
Absolutely.
And of course
very
cost
expensive,
of,
freight cost,
freight
cost added
to China and India.
That's right. So Professor Swaran Singh, does it look like Yunus has bitten more than he can chew? That he's thankful to United States for giving him the position of authority that he's enjoyed, and so now it's payback time?
I think that's an interesting illusion or analysis that you are suggesting, that perhaps Dr. Yunus is looking for a role for himself, maybe potentially president of Bangladesh or so, and is therefore enhancing credibility in that sense of having done major things of major investment from China, trade deal with United States, also partly dealing with India without much damages in that relationship. So could be his personal gain, but why United States need to strike a deal 3 days before the election, that is what surprises me.
Okay, I'm not an expert, sir, so I'm just trying to read between the lines here. The fact that there was a deal signed, there was an NDA in place, and now, Mohammad Yunus, he's counting his last few hours. But what does it really mean for Bangladesh? Major General Sudhakarji, hopefully tomorrow, after that election that will be keenly watched globally, Bangladesh will get a new government. You heard Professor Swaran Singh there. Is Bangladesh even looking for an alternative? China is very deeply entrenched into the infrastructure development in Bangladesh. So does it make any sense for them to realign with India? what could be the recalibrations the new government will have to do when it comes to better ties with India? And can they manage to be in a standoff-like situation with India for years to come?
Shweta, good evening. Thank you for inviting me for your show. My greetings to the distinguished co-panelists. As far as the question that you have raised, as a military man, what comes to my mind is that in the entire narrative that we are discussing this evening in your show, the central issue is not strategic reset, because strategic reset, as I look at, has got a perspective of impulsive, inconsistent, incoherent response matrix of United States of America, so as to go in for an effective strategic rivalry to push back China's deep penetration into Bangladesh. 82% of military hardware is being imported since 2020 till date by Bangladesh. You talk about Pekua submarine base, the dockyard where the submarines, as on now when we are talking, there are 2 submarines docked there. You talk about the bridge across the Padma River, talk about the pipeline, talk about the railway, the national highway, talk about any kind of infrastructure. China has spent out of $38 billion committed back in 2013-14, out of 38 billion, 20 billion, close to 20 billion has already been applied on the ground. That is the kind of penetration. The stock exchange has been taken over by the consortium of bankers of state-owned enterprises by China. That is the deep penetration. There is a three-dimension force which China is making, modernizing the Bangladesh Navy. Apart from this, be mindful of the fact that recently there are large number of Bangladesh delegations have visited China more than 6 to 10 times in past about 1.5 years. Why did they go there? They were trying to negotiate with China for buying the JF-17 Thunder, that is the fourth generation aircraft, which is coming in a big way in a foreseeable future. Apart from that, they are also through Pakistan, they're going in for Jet-10C. Jet-10C is also a state-of-the-art aircraft. They're being developed in collaboration with China. What it means is that when you buy such kind of a capital and technological intensive product or a platform, it puts the country into a binding commitment of the
Absolutely.
ecosystem. The spare parts, the software upgrades, you talk about the pilot training, and you have the entire ecosystem which makes the country eternally, if not eternally, dependent in a long time perspective. And therefore, what it brings me to is that America is doing a good thing, because there has been a kind of a diatribe between the embassy of USA in Bangladesh and the Chinese embassy,
Right.
where the ambassador, he called out certain issues which are highly detrimental not only to Bangladesh but to the regional stability and security, as also it may impair the overall stability, global stability. The ambassador was rebuked. The language used by the Chinese embassy is anybody's actually concern. It should become a concern. That is how the issue has been wrecked up in the White House corridors, and that's how they have reorientated their approach. Now they are saying, since the Hamas have come in a big number, since the Lashkar-e-Toiba have landed up on 30th of January in big number with fast shooters, since they have trained people for Fidaini attack, since they have got already Jaish-e-Mohammed there to carry out, some kind of ID, they have Rohingyas also doing, indulging in narcotics, and the money earned is close to 600 crores of rupees.
Right.
Taka, I'm talking of Bangladesh currency,
Right.
and they are in for a big kind of engagement with forces inimical to India's interest, as also regional stability. So it's a mess. It's an intersection of three spheres of influence which is happening. One is the Chinese sphere of influence. The second is the American. The third and most important thing is the Islamic fundamentalism, which is spreading in earnest because of indulgence, deep involvement of Turkey along with the Qatar. The Qatar is giving money. Turkey has already started building the defense corridor in Bangladesh. The China The corridor which India was supposed to have invested close to Chittagong Tract has already been given to China to prepare the defense establishment there.
Okay.
And come to the Tista agreement, where India had been committed earlier by the Sheikh Hasina regime for $1 billion worth of project. That project has been announced and it has been given to China. Under these circumstances, it is good that USA is making a wake-up call and coming into Bangladesh. It will do good, regardless of the kind of relationship we have had, the downturn that we have gone through in past couple of months. I think its entry into Bangladesh is going to do good in order to stabilize and bring about some meaningful regional stability.
Okay.
Otherwise, we are actually heading for something very, very dangerous and volatile.
Absolutely. You know,
If they don't-
absolutely. Sudhakarji, it does feel like Bangladesh is at an intersection of too many competing forces, and it's not good for regional stability in South Asia.